Oh, Charles, I should have gotten some Back to the Futile music because I did choose to, call this the musical. How are you tonight, Charles?
Excuse me, Jason, this is a live broadcast. What we are unburdened by what we've been. I mean, I leave you for I guess it's going on almost 3 months, and the fucking country falls apart. What is going on with this Harris campaign? That's
Terrible.
beyond futile. It's beyond futile, Jason.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's a good topic, a good, parody theme for our show today. People are going to be able to join us in the First Amendment Forum. There's actually no musical component. I just thought that was funny. And, this is, Charles, AI assisted, strategy here, trying to focus in on exactly what Kamala Harris's message is. She wants us to believe she's the candidate of change and the candidate of the future, but we're just really going back to the futile if she was to become president. I really hope it doesn't happen.
It's not going to happen. But one thing that was amazing to me is that if you first of all, this is not somebody who was vetted, right? You think about Donald Trump. In 2024, he fought, numerous primaries, right? There were people who were trying to make him not be the candidate in 2024. He shook off all those challengers. He destroyed them. This woman has never gotten a primary vote, not one. And she has the nerve in this fake 60 Minutes interview. I think we should take a second and just share, particularly for our international viewers, make sure they understand that the way 60-minute interviews work is that the camera crew sits with the subject of the interview, and the anchor does, and they converse. And there's a lot of tape that's created. And then the editing team says, all right, now you'll never see the subject of the interview in the same shot as the person asking the questions. And that's because what they do is they weave a tableau together after the fact, and they allow the interviewer to be shot asking questions after that interview already knows the answers that the subject is going to give. So with that in mind, what was released by CBS was just a death knell for Kamala, an absolute death knell. And then she goes on the spew with those idiots. I mean, why people care about what those idiots have to say about anything is beyond me. But nonetheless, she goes on the spew, thinking it's The View, thinking it's a softball interview. And when asked, is there anything that you would do differently? She says, nothing comes to mind. I mean, what? That's worse than Tim Walz. Nothing comes to mind. That's like a phrase you don't use in a serious setting. I mean, if you've had 17 glasses of Chardonnay, maybe that's what you talk about. But when you're trying to remember, the president of the United States is the person who makes the call on whether we start World War III. You really want somebody who's been in this office with a nitwit, and actually the nitwit's warming on me in the recent days now that he realizes he's got to cement his quote legacy. She's been cheek to jowl supposedly with this idiot who has open borders, soaring crime, soaring inflation, dwindling private sector jobs, rising taxes, soaring debt, endless wars. You go on and on and on, and you're seriously trying to campaign on it. Well, no. And what's the title of her campaign? Does she forget that the slogan for her campaign is "A New Way Forward"? If you wouldn't change anything, huh?
That's very stupid of her.
Yeah.
She was drinking beer with Colbert. Did you see that?
I can't watch Colbert.
Highlight: Kamala Harris cracks open a beer with Stephen Colbert. I think he's trolling her. I mean, basically, everybody knows she's a drunk. We might as well get hammered on the show. It's crazy, right?
She would drink Chardonnay, not a beer.
This was Miller High Life. They were pounding beers. It was crazy.
That's probably the last beer she's ever had. I mean, the most recent beer she's ever had. I mean, she's probably more comfortable with a modest $80 bottle of French wine.
I just found it strange that she would be drinking booze on the show like that.
She's got no self-awareness. I'm amazed. I mean, this isn't somebody. If you're out there and you've already done the kind of cage match interviews that Trump did with regularity, hostile groups. He had after he was elected, one of the first things he did in 2016 before he was sworn in is he went and visited the New York Times and sat down with Maggie Haberman and all those assholes in the New York Times and took their questions. Right? I mean, this person is preposterous. It's you do Colbert after you've done the BBC, The Economist, The Wall Street Journal, you name it, a slew of Tucker, a slew of serious people. But you don't go on Colbert as while your polls are evaporating. And she goes on this sex podcast.
Oh, Call Her Daddy or something like that.
Yeah, call your daddy. You've got people actually in the swamp, dead people in trees in North Carolina. You got towns that have disappeared. Yet you have the time to go out, and no one really knows at this stage what's going on in North Carolina with precision. So there's still power out everywhere. And you're off in San Francisco with your billionaire donor class but you find time to do Call Your Daddy. I mean, this is not a serious. She is not a serious person, but her team is worse than she is. And this idea that Trump now is going to go do, I would almost fly back for it on October 27th, except I can't, so I got other commitments. But the thing that is amazing to me that he's going to do Madison Square Garden, and that is people are going to come from fucking California for that.
Yeah. When I saw that, I thought it would be cool if you could return for that, but I guess, it's quite far away.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 25,000-mile trip.
It's crazy.
It's a little bit much. I think I'll watch it on the Jumbotron or something like that.
Yeah.
But this you can say what you want about Trump, but you can't say that he hasn't tried, just about everything. And yeah, he makes mistakes. We all do. And he's had businesses that have failed, but he is a billionaire. I mean, I don't want to take instruction from somebody whose idea of being the border czar is to wait until the country is nearly destroyed and then don a $62,000 Tiffany necklace to have a photo op with somebody who has nothing to do with protecting the actual border and leave after 22 minutes. I mean, that's just not a serious person. And then you ask this idiot questions, and there's a hilarious Hitler finds out or whatever mashup of Hitler trying to understand, ask questions of Kamala Harris. And it's really to the point where she is insulting the intelligence of people who have 100 IQ, average intelligence. Forget about the people who are smart. I mean, she's insulting the intelligence of all voters by this campaign and by her comments. So when she's asked, what would you do? It's just word salads after. It's not even word salads. She's clearly not qualified. And frankly, in the 60 Minutes thing, what came across to me, she came across to me as a dumb white woman. There's nothing. Right? I mean,
it takes everything away from her.
And who are the people who would actually vote for her? I mean, you got the dead. You got the dead people. They're going to vote for her.
People who can't speak English. Don't understand what's going on.
But who would have the pretense of making an informed decision and look at the options and say, Trump, oh no, I'm all in for Harris because what a team builder. I mean, our first appointment, Tim Walz, what a great guy. I mean, are there tens of millions of people in America who are that stupid?
I can't imagine there are. But I will say, Charles, when I was driving around, going to the rally in Butler, I did see lawn signs that said, Harris Waltz. I guess it's just, people who hate Trump or whatever.
Was that outside a cemetery?
I mean, it was mostly Trump. Mostly Trump support and big billboards for Trump and trucks painted for Trump and stuff like that. But there were some lawn signs again, I'm with you. I can't understand how anybody would want to vote for Kamala Harris or Tim Walz. Just absolutely, totally stupid, both of them.
Right.
Polls find Harris rising.
Come on. Times. Who wrote that article?
It doesn't say.
Yeah. They don't want to put their byline in? Yeah. No, there it is, right? No?
It wants me to pay, I think. There we go. Yeah, Adam Nagorny, Ruth Nick, and Camille Baker. These people.
I mean, people are beyond stupid and pathetic. Let's address this poll. I mean, if you do a, quote, national poll, likely does not mean that they canvass people from every state, every jurisdiction where you're entitled to vote, including territories. They obviously didn't do that. So the question is, what passes here for a national poll? If you do a sample, there are people, supposed experts saying you need at least 1,000. I think you need more like 30,000. But a lot of these, quote, national polls are 800 people, 1,000 people. And if you were to go, say, sample only blue states and or construct a sample that has too many Democrats in it and too many Republicans, because the largest slice of all likely voters is independent now, you're going to come up with any result you want. And remembering as well that only now is it becoming cool, actually, to be pro-Trump. There are a lot of people who, when they get a phone call and they don't know the number, may not answer the phone, but if they do answer the phone and they start being asked political questions, there are a lot of folks who see what happens to the January 6th defendants and sees what happens when you have these rabid maniacs like Jack Smith go after Trump, who are not going to say to a perfect stranger they're Trump supporters. So there's bias against Trump. There are construction issues that affect even highly educated pollsters. I mean, what is the right percentage to put in of Republicans, independents, and Democrats in a supposed national poll? And then you have to remember that the popular vote, even though Waltz says it was a good idea, and here Harris's team is to eliminate the electoral college, Harris's team has had to discredit what Waltz said and say, no, we're not for that, although I'm sure they are. You have to look at it like state by state, key state by key state. And to me, I think it should be very worrying to Waltz, to Harris and Waltz's money backers, that Trump is making the kind of inroads. He's going out to Coachella, that's how you pronounce it, California, to do a rally. He's going to Madison Square Garden in New York. These are solid blue places. Why would he do that if unless the polls are showing maybe that he's not going to lose by, or might even win, New York and California, as Reagan did in 1980 and 1984 after a failed idiot of Jimmy Carter, who's still alive, amazingly.
Barely.
He's more alive than Biden.
Yeah. Well, that might be right, actually. Biden is also kind of like Skeletor. He's just showing up now to piss off Kamala Harris. I kind of like, this is finally Dark Brandon, Charles. He's, just passive-aggressive Biden acting out against Kamala. It's sort of great.
Well, he put on the red MAGA hat, and we played that extended clip. I mean, I don't think that was an accident, right? If in his prime, he never would have done it. But he put on that MAGA hat. It was an extended, back and forth. I don't know if that's the whole clip, but it's like close to 2 minutes. And, they're riffing on each other. And then he actually puts on that.
It's pretty funny. He kind of, he's like fighting with this guy in the typical, you don't know corn pop kind of way. Oh, did they edit out the moment where he puts on the Trump hat? He hands the guy the Trump hat, and here he is.
Puts it on.
Yeah. Did this guy just fool Biden with a shell game of a hat? He might have. Biden doesn't know he's wearing a hat. He doesn't know what's going on.
If we think back to 2020, I mean, that campaign was a joke, right? But Kamala Harris is worse than this. And really, there are many things. History is going to remember Hillary and Bill and Chelsea Clinton as charity profiteers and hucksters. But that's not the worst thing that Hillary Clinton did. I think one of the worst things she did by rigging the Democratic 2015-16 cycle, the Democratic Party was nearly bankrupt. It's never a good sign that the country's doing well or that your presidency's well under Obama. But she had money and access to money, probably from the Clinton Foundation and other crooked sources. And so she was able to rig the 15-16 primary season, the Democrats, so that we never really had the debate. We have not yet had the debate that we really need to have in America. We shouldn't have to have it, but evidently now, because of all the damage that's been done in higher education, we need to have a debate where we have people study communism, study socialism, and then ask the American voters, is that what you want now? And then we need to study crony capitalism, which I call crapitalism, and ask the American voters, is that what you want? We have to have that kind of a debate. And Hillary and Bernie never really had that. And had Bernie Sanders, and Bernie Sanders is perhaps somewhat more qualified to run a French fry station at McDonald's than Kamala Harris. I mean, he should be on Curb Your Enthusiasm as another character. And I know that
hasn't he?
Well, Larry, yeah, I guess he has actually. Now that you mentioned it, and Larry David impersonated him very well. But he would, he could probably be a character actor, Bernie Sanders, but he's certainly not a manager. And he's married to somebody who actually managed to bankrupt a cow college up in Vermont. And yet these socialists fly private and they have three homes, because every socialist needs 3 homes and to fly private. But the rich aren't paying their fair share, billionaires and millionaires. So we never had that kind of debate that we really should have. And with Harris, you can't have a debate. I grew up in a middle-class family. We're talking about the border. What does that have to do with the border, bitch? You really need to get, I think an interviewer should get to the point where they piss off both candidates and see how the candidates do when they get angry. I'd like to see that.
Charles, I think I might have missed this detail, but apparently 60 Minutes had 2 different answers to the same question from, I knew it was a poor performance.
You mean 2 different non-responsive statements? I wouldn't call them answers.
That's what it says. Defaced the nation, her word salad. It's like a McDonald's salad. It's not really that good.
Right. I mean, and it's not like we're looking at you can't, actually, if you think about her position, she's an idiot to take it, right? This is a person who on the one hand wants to say, I was Joe Biden's right-hand person. I made every major decision. I was the last person he spoke to. Meanwhile, the president said the smartest person he knows is his son, Hunter. Okay, where does that put? Hunter's the smartest person. Where does that put word salad? But anyway, on the one hand, she's got to say, I was there. I presided over this disaster. Basic food prices are up 80%. Private sector jobs are being replaced. Government workers are overpaid. Major cities are running riot. Mayors everywhere have their extended staffs of deputy mayors and special assistants and all this. And they're cutting the police, welcoming gangs, pretending that crime is down by instructing the district attorneys not to prosecute. And therefore you don't have prosecutions, you're not going to have convictions, and you're not going to have any crime statistics. And then if that doesn't work, just tell you what, the FBI keeps track of these statistics. Let's just not give the FBI the information they need for all the big cities. And then we can make the crime statistics go down. Nobody is that dumb to believe that this is actually working. And she puts her hand and says, you know what, coach, put me in. Actually, she goes to she knifes her boss, says, you're not running. You think you're running, but you're not. She knifes him. She knifes the 14 million people who voted for Biden in the fake primary that didn't include Robert Kennedy and should have. And she says, you know, based on our joint record, put me in, and I'll have my campaign say it's a new way forward, when it's just more of the same broken
same
bullshit.
old, right. Back to the futile.
It's ridiculous. I mean, it's an inspired movie poster choice, thanks to the art department. You're going to have to start paying royalties for AI, I guess.
Well, there's a lot of talk of that, Charles. Don't give anybody any good ideas. You know, another day, another resignation from the, cabinet there, or whatever it is, the Eric Adams administration. Top deputy mayor has resigned, intensifying wave of departures. Sheena Wright, the first deputy mayor of New York City, became the 7th senior leader to leave City Hall in the past few weeks as federal investigations into the Adams administration widen. This is unbelievable, Charles. It's becoming not only one of the most, scandalous things in the history of New York City in terms of the mayor's office in City Hall. This is going to be one of the largest organized crime takedowns in history, don't you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, there's more turnover. There's almost as much turnover in the mayor's office as there is on Kamala Harris's staff.
Right.
The 93% of her staff is left.
Wow.
I mean, that's
a lot.
Think of that. And think about being the last 7% or the new hires.
Charles, I think your scandal is spinning out of control when they need to give you a chart of the people who have already resigned.
Actually, when I went through business school, it was nice and I don't regret having done it, but to go to Harvard Business School when you have no full-time job experience, you're missing quite a bit. And so one of the most important courses there was human behavior in organizations, basically what to do with the staff and how to build a team and all this kind of stuff. And there, at the Harvard used to have the case method where there really weren't textbooks. You just read some materials. It could be as short as 5 pages. It could be 100 pages for a 90-second session. And there are no questions. You just read the materials and you have to figure out what's important. And so there are a lot of, in this human behavior organization course, which I guess is now called organizational behavior, because they didn't want to, some people aren't human, I guess. But they, right. Anyway, organizations behave by themselves without people. They had a lot of case studies on train wrecks, bad decisions made. The collection of knuckleheads in municipal and state government and now federal government. I mean, you could put case studies together for another 100 years on the period 1988 to the present. Not just focusing on, mind you, on Democrats. You look at George W. Bush. I mean, his presidency was a monumental failure. George W. Bush's. George H.W. Bush's as well. Yeah. And then you look at these, you could look at these small town mayors, that Tiffany Hayward or whatever her name is. I'm the mayor. I get to steal as much as I want. Everything that ain't nailed down, put in my house. Taxes, I ain't paying them. But the New York City, it's. I look at it now. I mean, I am in a position, having left the country for a breather here, where if I decide to come back, I can live pretty much anywhere I want to live within reason. And, why would I go back to New York City? You have got to be freaking kidding. It's anarchy there, judging what I'm reading.
It's pretty bad. It's true. Charles,
do you have, go ahead.
I don't know if you've seen this, but there's you were talking about George W. Bush. Just today, we've got this opinion piece in the New York Times. Jack Smith owes us an explanation I haven't really had a chance to read this, but this is from Jack Goldsmith, who was an assistant attorney general in the George W. Bush administration. And he's the author of, After Trump, Reconstructing the Presidency. Probably anti-Trump in his own right, but what is it that Jack Smith owes us an explanation about? Kind of a lot.
Well, I mean, the Supreme, has the Supreme Court held that his appointment was legitimate or not?
I don't know if they've ruled on that.
Yeah. But the basic question, the first question about Jack Smith is he legitimately holding the office he claims to hold? But I think what this guy's focused upon is the thing that we discussed involving 2016, the 60-day rule, that 60 days, and Trump argues it should be before people start voting. The Justice Department rule is that no important decisions come down that might affect the outcome of a presidential election within 60 days of the formal vote. That's the rule. And I think what Smith has done, releasing this, you would know much more about this than I, but I think there's a limit on the length of pleadings. And Smith asked for departure to put much more than the limit. I think the limit's either 40 pages or 60 pages.
He was 165.
165, but the normal limit is like 40 or 60, and he asked for leave to do this, issue this screed within 60 days. And what Smith and the Never Trumpers don't get at this point is that, yes, there's a loyal band, Joe Scarborough, a pinhead, whatever happened to that intern in his office. And he is not a conservative. He's not a Republican. He's just a crooked pinhead. But the team that rotates through Caddy K from the BBC and all those idiot plagiarists, Mike Barnacle from Boston and Michael Steele, the fake former Republican chair, those people, they hate Trump. They're going to look at this. It's the end for Trump. This kind of stuff only appeals to confirmed Trump haters.
Yeah, it's lawfare nonsense. Well, Charles, let me interject for a moment because we're out of time here in our introductory segment, and we're going to continue to talk about this in the First Amendment Forum. I hope that people will join us on odyssey.com/@crowdsourcethetruth, crowdsourcethetruth.substack.com, subscribestar.com, and patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth. Charles, we got to talk about what was going on with Andrew Weissman. People are rediscovering my dressing down of Weissman. It's kind of good. I think some of these elements are coming together. We'll talk about that and more right after this. Stay with us, everybody. Thanks for watching.